All right, so we're diving into your personalized heart health deep dive today. Not just the general stuff, but like, what does your report actually mean for you?
Exactly. It's about taking those numbers and turning them into an action plan. And, I'm always excited to see people like you who've clearly been doing some research on top of their report. That's fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, knowledge is power, right? But I gotta admit, when I first saw the sheer number of factors that play into heart health, it's a bit overwhelming.
It can be. I mean, we always hear heart disease is complicated, but seeing it broken down like this, it really hits home.
Totally. And it's not just like, oh, I need to eat more veggies, it's everything. But on that note, lifestyle. That we can actually do something about.
100%.
It'll
And that's what's so empowering. Even small tweaks in our daily habits make a huge difference over time.
Speaking of tweaks, smoking. I quit years ago, thank goodness. But reading this research from the Heart Foundation, wow. Did you know that your lung function starts improving within weeks of quitting?
It's incredible, isn't it? The body is so resilient.
Hmm.
And it's not just the lungs. Some artery damage can even start to reverse itself. It's like hitting the reset button to a degree.
That's wild. Okay, so it's not just about quitting bad habits, but also food. You've got some seriously delicious looking recipes flagged here from the Heart Foundation.
Right. Heart healthy doesn't have to mean boring and tasteless. It's about making sustainable swaps, finding things you actually enjoy.
One swap that kind of blew my mind, the cholesterol thing. Like, I knew about good fats versus bad fats, but this whole HDL, LDL breakdown,
Yes. It's like HDL is the cleanup crew, getting rid of the excess cholesterol in your arteries, while LDL is more like the stuff that can build up and cause problems.
okay, so I gotta keep my cleanup crew strong. Speaking of which, exercise. Ugh, 150 minutes a week. That feels impossible sometimes.
I hear you. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be some crazy workout routine. Even short bursts of activity throughout the day add up. Taking the stairs, a quick walk at lunch.
Okay, that's doable. I can get behind that. All right, we gotta address the elephant in the room. Weight. It's not just about how our clothes fit.
Right. It's about the strain that excess weight puts on our entire system, especially the heart. Blood pressure, cholesterol levels,
Hmm.
it's all connected.
And speaking of blood pressure, that silent killer thing kind of freaks me out. I had no idea it could be high without any obvious symptoms. It's sneaky. That's why regular checkups are crucial, especially if heart disease runs in your family.
Which reminds me, before we move on from lifestyle, we got to talk alcohol. The research you've gathered about binge drinking being just as bad as long-term overuse. Yikes.
It's all about mindful choices, right? Knowing your limits, understanding what a standard drink actually is. Most people pour way more than that.
That's me. Guilty as charged. Okay, so we've got some control over our lifestyle, but what about when pre-existing conditions enter the picture? Things get a bit more complicated, don't they?
For sure, but definitely not impossible. Managing those conditions becomes key, but with the right knowledge and support, folks can still live long, healthy lives.
So we were just talking about high blood pressure being a silent killer. That's
Mhm.
kind of scary. It is, because you don't necessarily feel it happening, but it's quietly doing damage over time, putting strain on your arteries, making your heart work harder.
Yeah, and it's not like you can just like decide to lower your blood pressure, or can you? What are the options here?
Well, there are definitely things you can do. Lifestyle changes are huge EE, of course,
Hmm.
but also medication can be really effective. And you've even got some interesting stuff flagged here about things like meditation.
Oh, yeah, I was curious about that. So it's not just about pills and treadmills, there's more to it.
Totally. It's about finding what works for you, working with your doctor to create a plan. But the main takeaway is it's manageable.
Yeah.
High blood pressure doesn't have to mean a death sentence.
That's good to hear because it's definitely one of those things I worry about. Okay, another one that always kind of confused me. High cholesterol. I get the good fats and bad fats thing, but how does high cholesterol actually hurt your heart?
Okay, imagine this. Your arteries, they're like highways, right?
Yeah.
And cholesterol is the traffic. Now, too much of the bad cholesterol, the LDL, it's like a traffic jam building up. That's the plaque, narrowing those highways, making it harder for blood to flow.
So it's not just about like clogging the pipes, it's restricting flow overall.
Exactly. And just like with traffic, there are things we can do to smooth things out. Healthy diet, those recipes we talked about, medication if needed. It's about giving our bodies the tools to manage that traffic flow.
Love that analogy. Okay, that makes way more sense now. So we've got blood pressure, cholesterol. What about diabetes? I know it's linked to heart health, but I'll admit I don't fully get how.
Yeah, you flagged some important research here, though, so you're on the right track. It all comes back to those blood vessels. High blood sugar Over time, it damages their delicate lining, makes them more prone to that plaque buildup we talked about.
So it's like diabetes adds another layer of complication to the whole traffic jam situation.
You got it. But, and this is crucial, managing your blood sugar. That significantly reduces the risk. Diet, exercise, medication. It all plays a role.
Okay, so even with these conditions, it's not like a done deal. We've still got some power here.
Absolutely. And speaking of power,
Yeah.
we got to talk about mental health. You've got some really interesting stuff highlighted about depression and heart disease.
I was surprised by that connection, I gotta say. But then I started thinking stress, anxiety. That takes a toll on the whole body, right?
100%. Chronic stress means high cortisol, the stress hormone, and that messes with everything. Blood pressure, cholesterol, even how your body processes sugar.
It's all connected. See, this is why I love these deep dives. It's like putting together a puzzle, understanding how it all fits.
And just like we prioritize our physical health, taking care of our mental well-being is huge E. Therapy, mindfulness, even just connecting with loved ones.
Self-care is not selfish. It's essential. All right, so we've covered lifestyle, pre-existing conditions. But what about the stuff we can't control? Genetics, family history. How do we deal with that? I gotta say, it can feel a little like, well, what's the point if it's all in my genes anyway?
I hear you, that feeling of, like, why bother? But here's the thing. Genes are only part of the story. Think of it like this. You get dealt a hand of cards, right? That's your genetics. But how you play that hand, that's up to you.
Okay, I like that. So family history isn't destiny, it's more like a heads up, like, hey, pay extra attention to this stuff.
Exactly. Knowing what runs in your family, it helps you personalize your approach. Like, if heart disease is common, you might be even more careful about diet, exercise, all those things we've been talking about.
Makes sense.
So-
Speaking of personalized, you've got a whole section here on women's heart health. Obviously, this deep dive is for everyone, but I learned a lot reading through this. Pregnancy, menopause, it all plays a role.
It's huge, GE. And it shows why just having general advice isn't enough. Women's bodies go through so much, our heart health needs change throughout our lives.
So true. And this kind of ties into what you were saying about advocating for ourselves, right? Knowing what questions to ask our doctors, not being afraid to speak up.
100%.
Yeah.
And that advocacy, it goes beyond just us as individuals, too. You highlighted something really important here. Social environment.
Yeah.
That impacts heart health, too.
Oh, yeah. I was really struck by that. Like, we can talk all day about healthy choices, but what if someone literally doesn't have healthy choices? Food deserts, unsafe neighborhoods.
Exactly. It's about more than just willpower. It's about access, about opportunity. And that's where things get bigger than just us, right? It takes systemic change, community support.
It's a whole other layer. Man, we have covered so much ground today. I feel like I need a nap, and also, like, I could run a marathon, all this knowledge.
That's the goal, right? To feel empowered, not overwhelmed. You've got the information. Now it's about taking those small but consistent steps forward. Your heart will thank you.
And don't forget, everyone, we've got tons of resources linked in the episode description. Think of it like your heart healthy toolkit.
And as you go about your day, maybe think about this. What's one thing, big or small, you feel inspired to try for your heart health? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, or in this case, a single heartbeat.
Love that. All right, until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay heart healthy.